Hi everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Exehaven Harbour. Now, the Carpathia is being put to one side for now while we're working on the station project, but I just thought I'd bring you up to date. Basically what I've been up to since we last visited the Carpathia. I've been adding all of the deck hatches and bits and pieces and so on, and all of the sort of black coloured items are winches, and they've taken me about 2 weeks to make. They go right the way down the ship. We've got some larger winches at the back there, and they are rather tiny. The one at the front I fabricated myself using some of the parts from the kit. I just couldn't cut the actual circles that you'll see here for the drum as such. That I've used washers for those. The smallest washers I could lay my hands on that I've got at home. But the circles that I had to cut out of card were a little bit smaller than that, and that just proved very difficult. So I went with an alternative, and I think actually it works quite well because this is the winch for the anchor. So I think it might be called the windlass, but some of you may be able to correct me on that. But yeah, so we're going to leave her there for now, but we will revisit that at some point. And I'm not saying that I'm going to stop building it at all while I'm doing the station when I get some spare time. But a lot of the bits that have got to go on it now are very fiddly. And what I might do is do some of the rigging before we get to that, especially for the funnel. And we'll come back and have a look at that at some point. Okay, so I'll see you in the next. So, last week, as I may have mentioned to a few of you, I had a package turn up. And it was full of a few bits and pieces from this company in Germany called DM Toys. Now, you're probably looking at this and thinking, what on earth, John, are you ordering a German signal box for? Well, when I saw this on their site, it immediately struck me as being a perfect building for a harbour master. And that's what it's going to be, the Exehaven Harbour Master. Now, this will sit down near the station, and I decided to start building this first. And I've got a little way into it already. And these kits are brilliant. They're manufactured, I think, by, they are by Model Barn Union, as you can see down in the bottom left there. And DM Toys sell them, and these kits go together really well. And if you need warehouses and things like that, they have got some really good kits. Obviously there are some kits that are not UK style at all, but this one I just felt was good for a harbour master, where they can keep a lookout across the harbour from the tower there. And this is where I've got with it. So far, I'm just about to add on some of the frontage. I've just been, well, actually, it was yesterday evening. This floor goes and fits in about here. This is where they look out from the tower. And I manufactured a desk out of some of the card that was left over from cutting out. And I've made this, obviously, you can see like the planking there, like a wooden floor. I've just carved that in, really. As I've said before, I think in previous episodes, how much detail do you put into an Engage model? I mean, you won't be able to see this at all, or very unlikely you could see a bit of it. And I'm going to put a figure in there as well, just looking out. But really, much more than that. I've put a hole in here for the lighting, because I will put some lights in this building. As at the moment, the roof isn't stuck on, mainly because I can then stick a light in there. There is access from the bottom, so that's pretty good. And these really, like I say, these really do slot together really nicely. It took quite some time putting all the windows in, all the window frames, but you know, once you get going in a rhythm, it was all right. And these join absolutely perfectly. They've got this sort of brickwork that interlocks on the corners, and it joins absolutely spot on. And it's so small, I don't, you know, the finger doesn't do it justice really, but that's what I'm doing at the moment. But this will sit in front of, or just kind of to the side of the harbour station, and it's one of the reasons I've started it first. Although generally I will be building from the back, but I wanted to get going on something, and I've still got to get a couple of bits for the station before I can really get cracking on it. So that's where we are with that. Okay, so I thought you might be interested in that, but that's DM Toys. I'll just bring that back in for you. It's worth looking through some of their kits. They're really, really good. You know, some of the bridges and buildings, you know, are excellent and will fit on a UK style layout. Postage wasn't too bad, and it arrived within a couple of days, because I got a few things which I'll show you as we go into this video. So in my one package there was, I think there was 3 items, and I think the postage was something like £10 from Germany, which was pretty good. So that was that. You also, when you order stuff from DM Toys, you get a free little kit to go as well, as a thank you from buying from them. And I got some little ventilation shafts which will be added on buildings at varying points as we build up Exehaven Harbour. Right, so there we go. The Harbour Master office, station, whatever you want to call it, is built to the point where I can still take the roof off, both this back roof here and the top roof there. If I want to fit some lights in, we can do that. But yeah, lovely kit. Not really difficult to make. Bit tricky around the top windows here, getting all of that right and trying to make sure everything's square so everything fits on. Took a little bit of faffing, but I think for me especially it makes the perfect Harbour Master's office. So that should sit there quite nicely on the layout. And we'll jazz that up. We'll put some bits and pieces around it to make it look like it's busy and so on. But you know, everything comes in time. Right, okay, for those of you that are wondering and interested in the track plan into the station, this is what I've got. And this is kind of how it's going to stay. Now, it's kind of split into 2 halves. We've got the back half here, these 2 tracks that go into these 2 platforms here. Now, they feed off and out and onto the main line through there. They also will go off there, and there'll be a couple of tracks. There's a point there, and there'll be carriage sidings, whatever really, and kind of acting as a head shunt. Now, what I've done as a compromise really is this platform here will become a parcels stroke head shunt platform. So I'm going to have to come up with some kind of building to go in here for the parcels, I guess. We'll see how that works out as time goes along, but that's how it is. So I know a lot of you suggested the crossover, the oh god, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's the crossover that you can change like a point. Double slip, there we go, it's come back into my head. Now I'm using code 80 track, and double slips are only in code 55, and I know that you can get converters and so on to change that up, or you can do whatever, but I didn't want to go and spend a load more money, okay, just on that, where I can get away with what I've done with my point. So you know, like I say, it is a compromise, and I think I mentioned it in the last episode that you know, there's always compromises on model railways, and this is mine, and this is how it's going to be. I'm not really going to change it. I want to try and keep it as simple as possible. I've only used 1 or 2 more points than I originally thought I was going to use. So we're going to have 4 platforms for the mainline trains, and we're going to have the parcels platform here, and I guess we could even use it, depending on how I put a building on there for the parcels, we can even use it as a small platform for some DMUs that come in, whatever, you know. So I think that is going to be my solution to that problem. So the good news is I've just had my other bits turn up for the station build, which means that I can now start doing that. So hopefully in the next episode the next segment, you'll see something about that. So before we move on to the station, here is the German signal box stroke Exehaven Harbour Master. Now this is going to be somewhere around about here, and maybe very well at that angle actually. Now what you've got to imagine is, as we pan out a little bit here, all of this is harbour. Right round, this is the harbour. Okay, so I'm imagining the crew that are on duty will be looking across the harbour and watching the operations and guiding operations as things happen. I'm hoping that I can have some sort of little dock here for the I can't remember. Oh God, it's always the same. when you start filming, you forget the names of things. But a little boat, and we'll come across one of those at some stage, I'm sure. That will be for the pilot vessels. There we are, John. You can remember. That will go out to sea and meet the bigger boats to bring them in. And I'm also thinking of an RNLI station here as well, because Scousines do one. I'm not quite sure how that would work, but you know, it could be like a whole joint operation here. And I plan to have this with some, I don't know, wire fencing going round, the road coming in where they can park their vehicles and so on and so forth. So, you know, we can make a whole little scene of that yourself. This is, I put my finger in there, that's how big the building is. It's not very big at all, but it's quite big in the scheme of things, I guess. Let's see if I can get a ruler on that for you so you've got some idea of the height. So there we go. That is about 6 centimetres high. And it's about, I think, in N-gauge world, that's about 35 feet. But I think that looks the part. A German signal box, Exehaven Harbour, Harbour Master. Right, so you join me now at the beginning of the station build. Now, after watching many YouTube videos on building plastic kits and so on and so forth, people seem to wash them in some sort of water with fairy liquid or something like that. And apparently it gets rid of any sort of oils or anything before you go and paint it. Now, I'm going to spray paint these. I don't know whether you can see here, I think you can. There's like a marbling effect, which I don't want. So I've gone out and bought myself some Halford's camouflage khaki paint, and that's what's going to be the colour of this building, which is more than what I want. You'll also see over here that I've washed up the windows and doors and surrounds for the windows. I'm going to paint these Southern Region green. I hope they turn out okay, because if not, they'll go back to another colour. But that's the plan. I've got a few more pieces in there to clean up, and then I will go and spray them all up. So I'll be back to you in the next segment. So we're outside and we're spraying up the components that need the khaki paint, and I've got to say, as it dries out, I really like that colour. That has really come out really well, just how I wanted it. You never quite know how they're going to dry, but it seems okay. So what I'm going to do is carry on spraying these up, and then they're going to be left to dry properly for probably I probably won't get back to this now for another couple of days. I've got the windows to paint up, but they'll be done with a brush. So yeah, it's going to be a while, but we'll see. Right, so we've given it a day, and as much as this colour is very good, and actually it looks better on camera, it's a little bit dark for what I want, and I'm going to lighten it up, and I'll show you what I'm going to do in the next segment, but it will be just using really the Woodland Scenic cement paint, which I think is more of the colour, but I'm going to water it down, and I'm going to see how that turns out. I'm only going to do a little bit first just to see, and then we'll take it from there. Right, so the good old Woodland Scenic's concrete cement colour paint, got some water, and basically all I've done is I've really watered this down. So this little mixture here is quite watery, so I'm going to see how that goes with the paintbrush, and I'm also using this little sponge here as well. I'm going to do two separate sections just to see which one's good and which one's not. So all that is just a cheap old sponge from B&Q, and I've just cut it down. So we'll see how this works out. So there we go. Now this piece at the bottom is the one painted with the brush, and this piece at the top is with the sponge. And basically there is no difference, not really. I'm just looking at it at the closeness with the camera, and yeah, I mean I really like it actually. I mean, it's got into the mortar lines, and it has lightened it up. So I'm just going to go over it with this wash, I think, and I think to be honest, I think that it does. I mean, to the eye, it looks brilliant. It's slightly different under the camera. It looks much lighter under the camera, but to the naked eye, it actually looks excellent, really. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to go with it. It does really bring out the detail in this lovely N-gauge kit. You know, with N-gauge, it's very, very difficult. Sorry about the finger there. It's very, very difficult to get the detail, and this moulded detail is really good. And there's more detail to add on to it as well, which is excellent. So, yep, that's what we're going to go with, and I'm going to stick with it. Right, so this is how they're finished up, and much more what I was looking for, really. So when the window frames go in and doors, which will be painted Southern Region green, I think the window frames will be like a creamy colour. I'm very likely going to use the concrete colour paint, because my Southern Region cream had dried up on itself. So we'll sort that out as we go along, but I don't think you'll notice too much difference. But yeah, it's all sort of drying out, and it's really lightened that up, and the khaki paint that I used is still obviously visible, and it gives it a, you know, a kind of background colour. This one's just been painted, and it will lighten up a bit more, and I can see it visibly in the camera. It doesn't look quite so light as these, but it will do, and it's going, I can see it. So yeah, so that's where we've got with that, and I'll come back to you when we move on to the next part. Right, as we watch the schools class and the castle class going by, following the castle class at this moment, I just want to say thanks very much as ever for all your support. I'm going to have to leave it here. This video is going to come out on an odd day. Last week, very busy week. And I just didn't get a chance. I had the mother-in-law's funeral, there was a load of things attached to that. We had a load of things to do at home, and I just ran out of time to get it out on my normal Friday scheduled slot, as it were. I hadn't quite got as far as I'd planned with the station build, but it is ongoing now, and you'll see obviously at the beginning of this, or during this video, the new Harbour Master station, and I hope you like that. And I'm going to just excuse me, wrap this up, and I'll see you the next time. I'm away this weekend with taking my mum away for a few days, just because she hasn't had a holiday for 10 years, and which will sort of delay really any progress that I'm making. But it is the summer now, it's the summer break. Mrs. Exehaven's off on the school holidays. She's a teaching assistant, so my feet don't usually touch the ground when she's off. And yeah, so I'll try and get one out every 2 weeks. I'm hoping to make progress on the station, but we'll see how we go on that. Okay everybody, cheers for now.